My sister Susan was forgetting things. Not little things, everything. At 58, she couldn't remember my phone number. She'd forget she'd eaten breakfast and eat again. Last Tuesday, she called me crying because she couldn't remember how to work the microwave. The doctors said early onset dementia, aggressive, cruel. Brett, her husband of 20 years, was devastated, or so I thought. Then my 14-year-old niece Emma did something that saved her mother's life. During Sunday dinner at my place in Portland, while Brett was in the bathroom, Emma's hand shot across the table. She pressed something into my palm. Her eyes were red. Her fingers were shaking. I looked down. A small piece of notebook paper, folded tight, written in purple gel pen. Uncle David, the house basement, Dad's old toolbox. Combination 4729. You need to see before Wednesday. Please don't tell Dad. M. I looked up at her. She was staring at her plate, fork trembling in her hand. Brett came back, all smiles, asking if anyone wanted more roast. Emma flinched. That's when I knew something was very, very wrong. Let me back up. Susan and I grew up in Northeast Portland, just the two of us and our parents in a craftsman house on 28th Avenue. Our folks passed last year, Dad in March, Mom in September. They left us the house. Susan and Brett moved in immediately. Made sense. They'd been renting forever. Brett's contracting business was slow, and Emma needed stability. I stayed in my condo downtown, 52 years old, divorced 8 years, no kids of my own. Susan and Emma were my world. When Susan started showing symptoms last November, it was subtle. She'd repeat herself, forget appointments. Then it escalated. By January, she couldn't drive. By February, Brett had taken her to 3 specialists. All said the same thing. Early onset dementia, possibly Alzheimer's, unusually rapid progression. Brett became her full-time caregiver, quit his contracting jobs. I offered to help, to take shifts, to hire someone, but Brett insisted. She's my wife, David. I made vows. For better or worse. I thought he was a saint. Emma stopped talking much. At 14, she was pulling away normal teenage stuff, I figured. But looking back now, the signs were everywhere. She'd gotten quiet, stopped inviting friends over. Her grades dropped from A's to C's. The school counselor called Brett twice. He told me Emma was just struggling with her mom's illness. But that note in my hand, with Emma's desperate eyes across from me. Brett cheerfully serving dessert, everything shifted. I couldn't go that night. Brett watched Emma like a hawk for the rest of dinner. When I said goodnight, I squeezed Emma's shoulder. I got your message, I whispered. She nodded once, tears spilling. Monday morning, I called in sick. I'm an accountant, boring, steady work. Missing a day wouldn't matter. What mattered was getting to that house. I drove to Northeast Portland with my heart hammering. Brett's truck was gone. He took Susan to another specialist appointment every Monday morning. I'd heard him mention it at dinner. That's why Emma gave me the note Sunday. She knew Monday I'd have a window. I had a key to the house. I'd help them move in. I let myself in through the kitchen door, and the house felt wrong immediately. Too quiet. Too clean. Everything sanitized, almost clinical. The smell hit me antiseptic, like a hospital, not like the warm, cluttered home our parents had kept. I went straight to the basement door, unlocked, down the wooden steps, into the cool darkness. I pulled the chain for the overhead bulb. The basement was exactly as I remembered from childhood. Concrete floor, exposed beams, our dad's old workbench against the far wall. And there, beneath the bench, was Dad's red metal toolbox, heavy-duty craftsman, dented from decades of use. I knelt beside it. The combination lock was new. I spun the dial, patru, shaptadoi noa. Click. I opened it. The toolbox was empty of tools. Instead, a laptop, a stack of folders, a Ziploc bag full of pill bottles, and a small notebook with Emma's handwriting on the cover. Evidence. My hands started shaking. I opened the notebook first. Emma's neat teenage script filled page after page, dated entries going back 4 months. November 3rd. Dad gave Mom her vitamins at breakfast. Mom seemed fine before. 2 hours later, she couldn't remember my name. Dad said, "It's getting worse, but it only happens after the vitamins." November 17th. I looked at Mom's prescription bottles. They all say Dr. Richardson, but Mom's doctor is Dr. Chen. I Googled Dr. Richardson. He doesn't exist in Portland. December 2nd. I found a bottle in Dad's truck. Same pills he gives Mom. Label says they're for sedation and memory impairment. Why would Mom need that? December 15th. Dad thinks I'm asleep. I heard him on the phone. He said another 3 months and the diagnosis will be irreversible. He laughed. Page after page. My niece, 14 years old, documenting her father poisoning her mother. I felt sick. I grabbed the pill bottles from the Ziploc bag. 5 different prescriptions, all in Susan's name, all from Dr. Richardson at a pharmacy I'd never heard of. I took photos with my phone. Then I opened the laptop. It was old, password protected. I tried Emma's birthday. Incorrect. I tried Susan's. Incorrect. Then I noticed a sticky note on the back. Mom's maiden name, plus year she was born. Anderson, 1966. The laptop opened. The desktop was filled with folders. I clicked one labeled Surveillance. Video files. Dozens of them. Dated and time-stamped. I clicked the most recent one. Dated last Friday. The video showed Susan's bedroom. Fixed camera angle, mounted high in the corner, Susan wouldn't see it. The timestamp read 7:47 a.m. Brett entered the frame carrying a breakfast tray. Susan was in bed, looking groggy but aware. She smiled at him. "Good morning, beautiful," he said. His voice was tender, loving. He set the tray down. Orange juice, toast, and a small cup with pills. "Time for your vitamins, babe." Susan looked at the pills. "Brett, these make me feel foggy. Can I skip today? I'm feeling pretty clear right now." His smile didn't change, but something in his eyes did. "Susan, you know what the doctor said. You need these. Your memory's been so bad lately. These help." "I don't think they help. I think they make it worse." "That's the disease talking, honey. Here." He picked up the cup, held it to her lips. "Just take them. For me." She hesitated. Then, because she trusted him, because she loved him, she swallowed the pills, washed them down with the orange juice. Brett watched her, smiled, kissed her forehead. "Good girl. I'll check on you in an hour." He left. The camera kept rolling. I watched Susan finish her toast. Watched her check her phone. She seemed normal, alert. Then, at the 43-minute mark, something changed. She blinked, looked confused, picked up her phone again, as if seeing it for the first time. Set it down. Picked it up. Set it down. She looked around the room like she didn't recognize it. By the 1-hour mark, when Brett came back in, she didn't know who he was. She asked him where she was, asked if someone could call her brother David. She was terrified, disoriented, lost. Brett comforted her, told her everything was okay, told her she was just having a bad memory day, that this was normal for her condition. But it wasn't her condition. It was the pills. I watched 3 more videos. The pattern was identical. Pills. Lucidity destroyed within an hour. Brett playing the devoted husband to a wife he was systematically destroying. I closed the laptop before I threw up. The folders. I opened the first one. Financial documents. Power of attorney papers signed by Susan on a date she would have been completely incapacitated. Brett now had control of everything. Her half of the inheritance, her bank accounts, her retirement fund. Over $600,000 combined. Second folder. Medical records. But these weren't from any legitimate doctor. These were fabricated. Someone had created an entire medical history of progressive dementia. Scans that weren't Susan's. Reports from doctors who didn't exist. Third folder. Life insurance policy. $500,000. Beneficiary. Brett. The policy was new, taken out 2 months after Susan's parents died. Fourth folder. A document titled Memory Care Facility Options. Brett was researching long-term care facilities, the kind where Susan would be locked away, sedated, forgotten, where no one would question her dementia, where she'd never recover. And in the very back, a handwritten note. Timeline. 6 more weeks. Commitment hearing scheduled April 5th. Dr. Morrison will testify. After commitment, increased dosage. Heart complications expected within 3 to 4 months. Natural causes. Given underlying condition. He wasn't just stealing from her. He was planning to kill her. I sat on that cold basement floor and I shook. How did Emma find all this? How long had she known? And how had she carried this alone? My phone buzzed. Text from Emma, sent from school. I replied. I saw. I'm calling the police. You're so brave. 3 dots appeared. Then, he checks my phone. Delete this. I deleted our entire conversation. Then I took that laptop, those folders, those pill bottles, and I carried them all to my car. Evidence. Proof. But I didn't call the police. Not yet. Because here's what I'd learned in 52 years. You only get one shot at this. If I called the cops now with what I had, Brett would lawyer up. He'd claim the laptop was planted. He'd say Emma was an angry teenager acting out. He'd produce those fake medical records and convince everyone Susan really was sick, that I was the crazy one. I needed more. I needed something undeniable. I called my lawyer, Michelle Torres. We'd worked together on my divorce. She was sharp, tough, and she didn't mess around. Michelle, I need to record someone without them knowing. Is that legal in Oregon? Oregon's a one-party consent state, she said. As long as one person in the conversation knows it's being recorded like you, it's legal. Why? What's going on? I told her everything. When I finished, there was a long silence. David, this is attempted murder. You need to go to the police now. With what? A 14-year-old's notebook and a laptop that could have been planted? I need him on tape. I need him to confess. That's dangerous. He's killing my sister. Another pause. Okay. Here's what you do. I'm going to connect you with a private investigator, former police detective. His name is Robert Shaw. He'll know how to handle this. Do not confront Brett alone. Do not tell Susan yet if she's been on those drugs for months. She might not even believe you. We do this smart. We do this careful. Or he walks. Robert Shaw met me at a coffee shop in Northeast Portland that afternoon. 60 years old, gray buzz cut. Looked like he'd seen everything twice. I showed him everything Emma had collected. He went through it methodically. When he finished, he looked at me with something like respect. Your niece did detective work that would put most professionals to shame. This is solid, but is it enough? For an arrest? Yes. For a conviction? Maybe. But here's the problem. Any halfway decent defense attorney will argue the medical records are real and you fabricated the laptop evidence. Juries are unpredictable. You want this airtight? Yes. Then we need Brett on tape, admitting what he's doing. And we need to get Susan somewhere safe, get her evaluated by a real doctor, get toxicology reports proving she's been drugged. That's your bulletproof case. How do I get him to admit it? Robert smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. You make him think he's won. Here's what we did. Wednesday evening, I called Brett. Kept my voice steady. Hey, I need to talk to you about Susan. Can I come by tomorrow? Sure, David. Everything okay? I've been thinking about what you said about long-term care. I think you're right. This is too much for you to handle alone. I want to help. I want to help pay for a good facility. I could hear the shift in his voice, the relief, the greed. David, that means a lot. Yeah, come by tomorrow morning. We'll talk. Thursday morning, I showed up at the house. Robert was parked down the street in an unmarked van, recording everything. I wore a wire under my shirt. Michelle was on standby with the police, ready to move the second we had enough. Brett answered the door. All smiles. Shook my hand. Come in, come in. Susan's having a rough morning, but that's normal lately. I walked into what used to be my parents' living room. Susan was on the couch, staring at nothing. She looked 20 years older than she was. When she saw me, there was a flicker. She almost recognized me, then it was gone. Hey, Susie, I said softly. I sat next to her, took her hand. It was cold. Brett brought coffee. We sat at the kitchen table. So, you've been thinking about memory care? Yeah, I said. I can see this is too much. She's getting worse, right? Every day, Brett said. He sounded so sincere, so sad. The doctors say it's one of the fastest progressing cases they've seen. Which doctors are you seeing now? Dr. Richardson, mainly. He's a specialist. And we've got Dr. Morrison lined up for the commitment evaluation. Commitment? That's a big step. It's necessary, David. She's becoming a danger to herself. Last week, she tried to leave the house at 2 a.m. Didn't know where she was going. I found her 3 blocks away in her nightgown. That probably never happened, but I played along. That must be terrifying for you. It is. He looked down at his coffee. Perfect performance. And honestly, the financial side is crushing me. Her medications alone are $800 a month. The facility we're looking at is $7,000 monthly. Even with her inheritance money, it's tight. There it was. The money. I leaned forward. What if I told you there might be a way to make this easier? Financially, I mean. His eyes sharpened. What do you mean? Well, I've been looking into it. If Susan is formally committed, declared incompetent, there are certain financial instruments that become available. Life insurance payouts can be accelerated in cases of terminal cognitive decline. And with the power of attorney you have, you could access her accounts more freely, make investments that… David. He held up a hand, lowered his voice. Are you talking about what I think you're talking about? David. I looked him dead in the eye. I'm talking about making sure you're taken care of. You've sacrificed everything for her. It's only fair. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, I always liked you, David. You're practical. I'm realistic. Susan's not coming back from this. We both know it. No, he agreed. She's not. So the question is, how long do we let this drag out? How long do we watch her suffer? How long do you bankrupt yourself trying to care for someone who's already gone? Brett leaned back in his chair, studied me. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that maybe the medications could be adjusted. Maybe her decline could be faster, more merciful. And then you move on with your life, financially secure, and we remember Susan as she was, not like this. I gestured to the living room, where Susan sat drooling slightly, unaware of our conversation about ending her life. Brett was quiet for so long I thought I'd overplayed it. Then he smiled. You really have been thinking about this. I have. And you'd be okay with it? Speeding things up? Brett, look at her. She's already gone. We'd be doing her a favor. He nodded slowly. I've thought the same thing. The drugs I've been giving her, they're not exactly FDA approved for dementia. They're more industrial. Sedatives, memory blockers, things I sourced from a guy I know. Untraceable. My heart was pounding, but I kept my face neutral. Smart. The beautiful thing is, everyone believes she has dementia now. Every doctor, every neighbor, even Emma. So when her heart gives out, which it will, with the right dosage adjustments, it'll just be a tragic complication of her condition. How long are we talking? I was thinking another 6 weeks. Let the commitment go through. Get her locked in a facility. Then within a month after that, heart failure. Sad, but expected. And the insurance pays out? $500,000. Plus her half of the house, her accounts, everything. Split it 50-50 with you, if you're in. He was offering me money. He thought I wanted in on killing my sister. I'm in, I said. But I want to see proof. Show me what you've been giving her. Brett grinned. Actually grinned. Come on. He led me downstairs to the basement, to that toolbox. He spun the combination, the same one Emma had given me, and opened it. Of course it was empty. I'd taken everything. Brett's face went white. Where is everything? I have it, I said quietly. The laptop, the files, the pills, Emma's notebook, all of it. He spun around. I've also been recording this entire conversation. I pulled my shirt aside, showed him the wire. The police are listening. They're probably already outside. Brett's face went through about 5 different expressions. Shock, rage, fear, then calculation. You're bluffing. You've got nothing. I've got everything, Brett, including you on tape admitting to drugging Susan with industrial sedatives from an illegal source, admitting your plan to cause her heart failure, offering to cut me in on insurance fraud and murder. His hand shot out and grabbed my shirt. You son of a… The basement door burst open. Footsteps thundered down. Portland Police! Hands up! 4 officers. Robert Shaw behind them. Brett let go of me, stumbled backward, hands raised. Brett Holloway, you're under arrest for attempted murder, assault, fraud, and forgery. They cuffed him. Read him his rights. He was screaming the whole time about how I'd entrapped him, how I'd lied, how he'd never said those things. But the audio didn't lie. As they walked him up the stairs, He looked back at me. Emma's never going to forgive you for this. That's her father. You stopped being her father when you started killing her mother, I said. They took him away. An ambulance came for Susan. Michelle had arranged for a hospital evaluation. Dr. Patricia Morrison, actually a real doctor this time, a toxicologist. They ran blood panels, brain scans, full workup. Emma came home from school to find police tape and strangers in her house. She saw me on the porch and ran. I caught her. She was sobbing. Is Mom okay? Is she safe? She's safe. Your dad can't hurt her anymore. Is he arrested? Yes. She crumpled. I held her while she cried. 14 years old, carrying the weight of this for months. She tried to save her mother in the only way she knew how, by documenting everything and praying someone would listen. You're the bravest person I know, I told her. You saved your mom's life. That was 4 months ago. The trial was fast. Brett took a plea deal. 15 to 25 years. Could have been worse, but his attorney argued he'd had a mental break. The prosecutor argued premeditated murder for hire, himself as the hitman. The judge split the difference. Susan spent 3 weeks in the hospital. The drugs Brett used were veterinary-grade sedatives, mixed with scopolamine, a drug that causes temporary amnesia and confusion. Combined with sleep deprivation and isolation, he'd created symptoms identical to dementia. When they cleared her system, she woke up. Really woke up. At first, she was terrified she'd lost 6 months of her life to a chemical fog. But slowly, with therapy and time, Susan came back to herself. She's not 100%. There's some residual memory damage from the prolonged exposure. But she remembers us. She remembers Emma. She can live independently again. Emma lives with me now. Susan's not ready to parent full-time. And honestly, Emma needs space from that house, from those memories. We're in therapy together. Emma still has nightmares, still blames herself for not speaking up sooner. But I remind her, you were 14. You figured out something most adults would have missed. You collected evidence that could have gotten you killed if your dad had found it. You saved your mom, Em. You're the hero of this story. She's doing better. Grades back up, made the volleyball team, smiles more. Last week, she brought a friend home from school, first time in a year. Susan visits every Sunday. We have dinner, the 3 of us, and we talk, really talk. About what happened, about what we missed, about how to recognize danger when it's wrapped in love. Because here's what I learned. Evil doesn't always look like evil. Sometimes it looks like a devoted husband. Sometimes it sounds like concern. Sometimes it uses the language of medicine and care to cover up murder. The signs were there. Susan's symptoms only appeared after Brett gave her vitamins. Emma noticed. Her school performance dropped. She withdrew. She tried to tell us without words because she was terrified. We didn't listen. We didn't see. We thought we knew what dementia looked like, so we accepted Brett's version of reality. If Emma hadn't been brave enough to act, Susan would be dead. If I hadn't been willing to believe a 14-year-old over a respectable adult, Susan would be dead. If we hadn't collected evidence before going to the police, Brett would have walked. I think about that a lot. I started giving talks at senior centers now. Financial exploitation and elder abuse. What you need to know. I tell Susan's story with her permission. I teach people the warning signs. Isolation from family, new powers of attorney, sudden cognitive decline, medications from unknown doctors, financial changes, and most importantly, when children or other family members express concern, believe them. Since the trial, 3 other people have come forward. Brett had a pattern. Before Susan, before me, there was another family in Eugene. Similar story. That case went cold because the victim died before anyone believed the daughter's concerns. We're trying to reopen that investigation. Emma asks me sometimes if I think people are basically good or basically bad. I tell her most people are neither, they're just people, capable of both. But I also tell her this. When you see someone consistently choosing their own comfort over someone else's safety, when you see someone turn love into control, when you see someone treat another human being as an obstacle to money or freedom or convenience, that's when you act. That's when you fight. She nods. She understands. She's lived it. Last month, Susan got her own apartment. Small 1-bedroom in Southeast Portland. Emma and I helped her move in. We hung pictures, built furniture, ordered pizza. When we were done, Susan stood in the middle of her living room and cried. I never thought I'd have this again. My own space, my own life, my own mind. Emma hugged her. You never lost your mind, Mom. Someone stole it, but we got it back. We did, and I'm grateful. Grateful Emma was brave. Grateful I listened. Grateful for second chances. But I'm also angry. Angry that Brett almost got away with it. Angry that if Emma had been just a little less observant, a little less brave, a little less willing to risk everything, we'd be visiting Susan's grave instead of her apartment. That keeps me up at night. How close we came, how easily it could have gone the other way. So I keep telling the story. Keep teaching people to watch for the signs. Keep reminding families. Question everything. Document everything. Believe your instincts. Believe the kids who notice things adults miss. And most importantly, when someone you love shows you who they really are through their actions, believe them the first time. Don't wait for proof. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait until it's too late. Because sometimes you only get one chance to save someone. And if a 14-year-old girl can find the courage to fight back against someone she's supposed to trust, against someone who's supposed to protect her, against her own father, then the rest of us have no excuse. Emma saved her mother, but she also saved me. She reminded me that bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite it. It's slipping a note across a dinner table with shaking hands. It's trusting someone to see what you see. It's believing that truth matters more than keeping peace. She's my hero. And every single day, I try to be worthy of the trust she placed in me when she handed me that note. Because that's what family does. Real family. Not the fake version Brett sold, but the real thing where you protect each other, believe each other, fight for each other, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. That's the story. That's what happened. And that's why I'll never ignore a child's intuition again. Never.